طيب بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. I'd like to welcome you all to this first lecture in week 5 of ICS 104. Any questions before we proceed, يا شباب? Any questions before we proceed?
Doctor,
نعم.
do you have office hour today?
Yes, right after class.
Okay.
Okay. طيب, so let's go ahead and proceed then. This is where we stopped last time. Basically, last week, we took the if statement, and we saw two forms of the if statement, you know, if condition, and then block of statements, and then else another block of statements, or if and only one block of statements. And now what we will do is we will see what happens, or can we, you know, have an if statement inside a block of statements. Okay, inside a block of statements, whether it was after the condition or whether it was after the else. And the answer to that question is definitely yes. Okay, and this is basically called nested branch, nested branches or nested set of statements, right? Nested because they are, you know, inside each other, right? So it is often necessary to include an if statement inside another. Such an arrangement is called a nested set of statements. We call them a nested set of statements. Now, nested decisions are required for problems that have multiple levels of decision making. Multiple levels of decision making. Usually, it's not that simple. Okay. Usually, it's not that simple. So let's take the example. Okay. Let's try to understand it using an example. Now, what is that example? Well, the example comes from the US. Assume that different tax rates are used depending on the taxpayer's marital status. So basically, everyone in the States and anyone who earns money, he needs to pay taxes on the amount of money he earns, right? For example, if you are an employee, then you have to, in government or in a company, and you have a certain salary, you have to pay taxes on that salary. Now, there are different tax schedules for single and for married taxpayers. Okay, so there are actually two levels. The first one is depending on the taxpayer's marital status. Taxpayer's marital status. So if you are single, you will pay a certain amount. If you are married, you will pay a different amount. Okay. Now, for a single and married, as we said, there are different tax schedules. Married taxpayers add their income together and pay taxes on the total. So basically, if somebody is, if a couple are married, then they will add their earnings. Okay, they will add their earnings and they will pay taxes on the earnings, on the total that they earn, on the total that they earn. Okay, right. So this is basically the federal tax rate schedule. Okay, this is the federal tax rate schedule. So the first thing that we need to check is whether the person's status is single or married, right? If he's single or married. So how much does he pay in that case? Well, it depends on his amount of income. If his amount of income is at most $32,000 a year, then the tax will be 10% of whatever he earns. Okay, it will be only 10% of whatever he earns. طيب, what if it was more than 32,000? Well, if it was more than 32,000, then it will be 3,200, which is basically the 10% of the 32,000, 3,200, plus now 25% of the amount over 32,000, of the amount over 32,000. Now, let me see if you understood this correctly or not. Let me see if you understood this correctly or not. So I need somebody to tell me if someone earns 40,000. If someone earns 40,000, how much does he pay for, and he is single, how much does he pay for taxes?
5,200.
5,200. Can you explain to us where did the 5,200 come from?
3,200 from the previous tax.
3,200 from the previous tax.
Yes, and 25% of the 8,000 above 3,200.
Exactly. And 25% of the 8,000, or 1/4 of the 8,000, which is 2,000, right? So 2,000 plus 3,200, that is the 5,200. Okay? So this is the...
Sorry, doctor, I didn't get it still.
You didn't get it still. طيب. Let me explain the married, and hopefully you will get it. So, pay attention. Now, if somebody is married and the total income of both the husband and wife, of course, if the wife does not work, then it will be basically, the amount the husband earns. If the total is less than or equal to 64,000, so now you can see the first difference between the two, or the second difference between the two, is that, the amount here is much bigger. It's basically 64,000. So if it's 64,000 or less, right, you pay 10%. That's it. 10% of what you earn, right? So for example, if you make 50,000, you and your wife, then you will only pay 5,000. Okay, you will only pay 5,000. Right. What if the income was over 64,000? Then what we will do is we will take the 10% of the 64,000. What is the 10% of 64,000? It is 6,400 plus now whatever is above the 64,000, you will take 25% of. Okay, you will take 25%. So for example, if you make 70,000, then you will pay 6,400 plus 25% of how much?
1,500 of 6,000.
Of 6,000. Okay, of 6,000. واضح يا شباب؟ طيب. So now, let me ask you the following question. Do you think a simple if statement will be, enough to make this schedule?
I don't think so.
صح يا شباب? It will not be possible to have a simple if statement. Okay? It will not be possible to have a simple if statement. طيب. Let me ask another question. What are the conditions that we have here? Can anybody tell me what are my conditions? Let's first try to identify what are the conditions of the if statement. Our statements.
If you are single or if you are married.
If you are single or if you are married.
Married, yeah.
Okay.
And if you are over 30, at most 32 or over 32, and at most 64 and over 64.
And over 64. So we have basically two types of conditions. One condition is, whether you are married or not married, and the other condition is whether you make less than 32,000 or this is equal to 32,000, greater than 32,000, less than or equal to 64,000, greater than 64,000. Right. Now let me ask the next question. What do you think the first condition that should be checked? Should I first check whether you are single or married, or should I check how much income do you make?
Single or
Single
married.
or married.
Single or married.
ليش single or married؟
لأنه هو الكونديشن الأعم في البداية.
Okay, because exactly. So well, because being single or married determines your threshold, your limit, صح? Your income limit by which you will have to pay more taxes, right? So in this case, that's why it's actually best to try to represent, you know, this schedule actually using a flow chart. Now, flow charts become very, you know, handy, become very, you know, easy to, not easy, at least it will become, you know, simple to read, right? So the first condition, as you suggested, is to check whether, you know, the person is single or married. So if single, now I will check the 32, whether less than or equal to 32,000. And if married, then my check for the income becomes on the 64,000. Okay, whether it is less than or equal to 64,000 or greater than 64,000. Now, if it is less than or equal to 32,000, now here, of course, the author, he made it as, you know, 10% bracket. But to tell you the truth, and I don't like this, we assume that there should be some kind of a statement here that will make it easier for me to convert it to Python code. So if I were him, I would put here something like 10% like tax equal 10% multiplied by the income, right? And of course, if it is false, then I will say, you know, 32,000 plus 0.25% of the rest, right? It's basically, and this is my opinion, okay? This is my opinion. So this is basically the if statement. Now you can see that in this condition, okay, whether single or not, the if part contains an if statement, and the else part contains an if statement. Okay, this is called nested if statement or nested branches. Okay, these are called nested branches. Okay, fine. Okay, so let's look at the code. So here it says, you know, this program computes income taxes using a simplified tax schedule, initialize constant variables for the tax rates and rate limits. So it says here rate 1 equal 0.10 and rate 2 is 0.25. And then we have rate 1 single limit equal 32,000, rate 1 merit limit equal 64,000. Okay, right. So any questions so far? So why am I using, you know, these as constants? You know, the 10 and the 0.25. Why am I using them as constants?
Because you will use them in the conditions.
Because I'm going to use them in the conditions, and they are kind of, you know, fixed values, right? It would always be 10%. It will always be 0.25%, right? This is 32,000. This is, so it makes sense to, you know, use variable constants or constants, you know, to represent these values, right? It's better to have them rather than having, you know, bare numbers like 0.1 or 0.25 or 32,000 or 64,000. Right. Now, who can tell me what are these two lines going to do?
Ask the user for his income, and whereas if he is single or married.
Okay, so so it asks for the income, and it asks for whether you are single or married, right? Right.
to decide if you to decide the condition what will do.
Yes, yes. Okay, so then what will happen is, well, we will try to compute taxes due, right? We will try to compute taxes due. So it says here, you know, tax 1 equals 0, tax 2 equals 0. We initialize the taxes. And then if the marital status is equal to S, which means that, you know, it's the person is a single, or the person is single, then you need to check the income with respect to the what they call rate 1 single limit, right? Rate 1 single limit. To tell you the truth, and I don't like the naming of rate 1 single limit, rate 1 married limit. In my opinion, you know, single limit is enough, or single threshold is enough, right? Whether it's rate 1 or rate 2, I don't know if that, you know, adds any value to it. It's just, for me, I understand it as, you know, this is the limit for single people, this is the limit for, you know, married couples. So if income is less than or equal to rate 1 single limit, then tax 1 equal rate 1 times income. Else, tax 1 equal rate 1 times rate 1 single limit. Tax 2 equal rate 2 times income minus rate 1 single limit. So here, for example, it's multiplying the 0.25 by the amount over the taxable income by 10%, right? Right. Yes. Anybody has a question? Right. So now, can anybody tell me what will be the tax? So this is tax 1, this is tax 2. So what is the tax in this case?
The addition.
The addition. Tax 1 plus tax 2, right? Tax 1 plus tax 2. Again, I kind of have a problem with, you know, the naming, tax 1, tax 2. It looks like, you know, two different taxes. I don't know. Maybe it's the only meaningful names, but to me, it's not that. It is not that meaningful. Maybe if he put the whole tax in one line, which is basically rate 1 multiplied by rate 1 single limit plus, you know, the rest, maybe it would have been maybe longer, but at least for me, you know, seems to me more meaningful. Anyways, but it's fine. So this is the case for single. And if you look here in the else, we have another block of an if statement. Okay, so if income is less than, you know, the married limit, then tax is rate 1 times income. Else, tax 1 is the rate times the limit, which is the 10% of, you know, the limit for married people, plus the 25% of the amount over the limit. Okay, and of course it will print the total tax. So now if I try to run this code, let's see, what was my example? Oh, for 40,000. So assume that I enter 40,000 and the person was single, then it should print, what did we say, 5,200? Huh?
Yes.
Okay, it will print 5,200. And of course, if I run this and, oops, what happened? Oh, I added something by mistake. So if I put 70,000, okay, 70,000, and let's say we're talking about a married couple, then it will be basically 7,900. 7,900. طيب, if I put 70,000 and single, You think the amount of tax is going to be much bigger or no? يا شباب. ايوه يا عبد الحميد.
دكتور.
نعم.
Should we set tax 1 and tax 2 to 0?
هيها.
Yes.
Yeah. طيب. Okay يا شباب. Do you think it's going to be much higher or
Much higher.
less? It's going to be much higher, huh? Because
Yes.
the 25% will be on a much will be added actually 25% of the 32,000, right? 25% of the 32,000. So if I try to run this and I say 70,000 and let's say a single person, then well, look at this, 12,700. Okay, 12,700. Okay يا شباب. طيب. Okay, let me give you a couple of minutes and we will see who's gonna, you know, write on the chat an answer. Write a program that reads an integer and prints whether it's negative, 0, or positive using nested branches. Using nested branches. يلا يا شباب. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Write a program on the chat. Copy paste. Maybe the indentation will not be copied for some reason. I'll do that on my own. Okay. Let's see. Oh, don't do it line by line, ya Faisal. Do it like on Notepad or on Jupyter, and then copy paste everything. Similarly, Khalil. Yeah, try to put it, يعني write the whole code and then copy paste. Write the whole code and then copy paste. يلا يا شباب. طيب, let's take عبد الرحيم's let us take عبد الرحيم's answer. Okay, so let's come here and I will borrow from Faisal getting the input.
Excuse me, Doctor.
نعم.
I put it in a variable so I can use it later. So put it in a variable, it's better. I forgot to put it in a variable.
Yeah, you mean like this?
Yeah, x equal or something. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Fine. So let's check this out. Number equal int, input, enter the number, right? And it's better to have a space so that it will look nice when we put the input. If number is equal to 0, then print 0, else. Now another header, if number is greater than 0, then result equal positive. Okay, so it's the same. طيب. Now, where should I put this else? Keep it in its same place ولا under the second if?
Indent.
Under the second if.
Under the second if, صح? Under the second if, result is negative and then print result. You should have, يعني 0 is not a special case, huh? I would have done the same thing with 0, which is basically saying a result is 0, right? Result is equal to 0, else result is equal to positive, else result is equal to negative, and then we say print result. Or let's say print. That's how I would have done it. The number is okay plus result. Okay. Is this indented under the else?
Excuse me, Doctor.
No.
You put plus.
Yes.
Isn't it the result is an integer? Or no, text type. Okay.
Okay. But this is very good. يعني your number is integer. If I did it for the number, you're right. But I did it for the result, which is a string, صح?
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Okay, شباب, let's try to run it. So enter the number. So let's enter 5. Well, the number is positive. طيب, if I enter negative 100 or 1000, the number is negative. And finally, if I enter 0, the number is 0. The number is 0. Right. Now, let me ask the following question. What should happen if I did this?
Error.
Error. What type of error?
Syntax or
Syntax?
indent.
Syntax or semantic? How do you know it's a syntax error? How would you know that? How will you differentiate whether it was a syntax error or a runtime error?
It will give me this. The program will give me error.
It will give you error, but sometimes that error is runtime or syntax. Assume you don't know English.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the structure, I think, because if it's a syntax, it depends on structure, and if it's runtime, it depends on logic.
It depends on logic. So this one, you say it is syntax, صح? So you don't know English, although you wrote the whole code in English. You don't know English. You don't understand the error messages. You don't understand the error messages. But how would you know that it is a syntax error, not a runtime error? Or what if it was a runtime error? What will be different?
If it's a runtime error, the program will run.
Will run كيف يعني?
It's like print out an output.
It will ask you for input. صح?
Yes, it will run normally, but it's not
input.
the desired answer.
But if it was a syntax error, even this line will not run.
Yes.
Even this line will not run. So now if I try to run this code, as you can see, syntax error, invalid syntax, that line did not run at all. Right? So the problem was caught during compiling the code, the first pass that the Python interpreter will go through the program to make sure that there is no syntax error. After that, it will start, executing one line at a time, or one instruction at a time, or one statement at a time. واضح يا شباب؟ طيب. I just wanted to emphasize this. Right. So multiple if statements can be combined to evaluate complex decisions. For example, consider a program that displays the effect of an earthquake as measured by the Richter scale. So now what we will try to do is we will try to see what are the possibilities of solving questions like this. So in a question like this, you know, you have, this is the Richter scale. So any, you know, earthquake of that, which is measured as 8 or above will cause most structures to fall. Whereas if it is less than 8 but greater or equal to 7, many buildings destroyed. If it's greater than or equal to 6 but less than 7, many buildings considerably damaged and some collapse. If it is greater than or equal 4.5 but less than 6, then damage to poorly constructed buildings. So what happens if it is less than 4.5?
No damage.
Nothing, no damage, right? If it's less than 4.5, no damage. Okay, fine. So now if I want to write code that will, you know, will have a value of the earthquake stored in a variable, and then I would like to decide the effect. I want to print the effect. Now, can't I use nested branches?
Yes, but
Of course.
will be long.
So we can use multiple if statements to implement multiple alternatives like this. Look at this. Here I'm using nested if statements. You know, Richter is equal to 8. If it's greater than or equal, I don't like this. Let's change this to, you know, Richter equals float input. Better. Enter the scale of the earthquake. Okay. So if Richter is greater than or equal to 8, print most structures fall, else. And then you have, if Richter is greater than or equal to 7, right? So now what does that mean? If I'm at this statement, what do I know about the Richter value?
But it's less than 8.
It is less than 8 because this is false. I know that it is less than 8. So if it's less than 8, greater than or equal to 7.0, then print, you know, many buildings destroyed, and so on and so forth. The rest is very clear. Huh? Like, do you see a problem in this code?
Too many lines.
Too many lines? No. Well, there are codes that have, you know, as many lines. What instead of having only, you know, 4 different cases in this table, we have how many cases? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and if it's less than 4.5, so we have 5, right? What if we have 10? What if we have 10? What will happen to the code?
Run in a pattern.
Too long.
No space to indent.
No space to indent. There will be too many indentations. But I'll be starting to writing here. leave the whole screen and write in this space. Although this works, this absolutely works. I mean, if I run it and I enter, let's say 9, you know, most structures fall. If I enter 100. Okay. If I 100 حرام عليك 100 بدك تطوح الكرة الأرضية كلها أنت. If we put, for example
6.5.
6.5, okay, let's choose 6.5. You know, many buildings considerably damaged, some collapse, right? So basically, which is truly it's here. So that's the problem with this code. You know, it becomes very difficult to read, and the number of branches increase, and as the number of branches increases, the code begins to shift further and further to the right due to the required indentation. So in order to overcome this, Python has provided another construct other than the if statement, which is called the elif statement, which basically combines the two words else and if in one word, elif, right? Okay. Now, how is the elif different from the if else? Well, using elif, it has basically the same meaning. So let's take the example, and let me copy my line here. Okay. I don't know, maybe if had I written it, maybe it would have been faster. Anyways, right? So it has the same meaning. So if this is true, what will happen? If this condition is true, what will happen?
Print most structure fall.
Print most structures, it should be fall, not fail. So most structures fall. طيب, next, what will happen? Do I go and check here?
No.
No, I will skip all this. خلاص, I'm done. طيب, what if this was false? Well, if this was false, then this means that I will come and check this. If this is false, I will come and check this. If this is false, I will come and check this. If this is also false, then I will come to the default else. Okay? And I will execute this and I will go out. Okay? So this is how this multiple or elif statement works. And as you can see here, is there any indentation problem?
No.
There is no indentation problem, and it actually makes you realize that these conditions are kind of related to each other, right? So this is Richter is greater than or equal to 8, but if you are here, this means that it is less than 8 and greater than or equal to 7 if greater than or equal to 7 is true, right? And if this was false and you come here, you know that Richter is less than 7, and so on and so forth. So now if I run it and I put, let's say 5.1, I put 5.1, then when damage to poorly constructed buildings, right? Because it is greater than 4.5, greater than or equal to 4.5, and less than 6. Okay, less than 6. So all of these were false because it is less than 6, صح? And then it is greater than or equal 4.5. This is true, so that's why this was printed. That's why this was printed. Any question on the elif statement? Any question on the elif statement? Do we know how it works and how it is different? And if we have nested if statements, we just if condition. Well, if condition is true, go to the block statement of the header and then go outside the whole if statement. صح? If it's false, then go to the else part. And if that else part has another if, now you go again to the if. Okay? So this is how it happens there. Here, you check one by one. As long as they are still false, you go to the next condition. If this is also false, you go to the next condition, and so on and so forth. Okay? Fine. So as soon as one of the 4 tests succeeds, the effect is displayed and no further tests are attempted. So once Richter is greater than or equal to 8, then this is printed and this whole thing will be ignored. Okay? Execution will go, after the elif statement. طيب, if none of the 4 cases applies, the final else clause applies and a default message is printed. طيب. Now, here, we must sort the conditions and test against the largest cutoff first. The largest cutoff first. Okay? Assume that I have this code. Assume that I have this code. What's wrong with this code? I just, flipped the order. So instead of starting with Richter greater than or equal to 8, I started with Richter greater than or equal to 4.5, Aleph Richter greater than or equal to 6, other 7, and 8. So for example, if I run this code and I put the value 7.5, what should be printed?
It will print damage to poorly constructed buildings.
It will print only the first one?
I think
Yes.
so. Yes.
Yes, you're right. It will print only the first one. Why? Because the first one is true. 7.5 is greater than or equal to 4.5. Okay? In fact, any value which is greater than or equal to 4.5, even if it was 9, صح? It will give the same answer or the same wrong answer. Damage to poorly constructed buildings. Right, let me ask you another question before I take your question. Is there any way that I can come and print this statement or this statement
No.
or this statement?
Yes.
No.
No.
I will never. I will never, because for the condition greater than or equal to 8, but it's already greater than or equal to 4.5. See, that's why what we say here is when you write your conditions, the order of the conditions should be from the most, specific to the most general, not from the most general. This one is the most general, Richter greater than or equal to 4.5, this is the most general, huh? So the remedy is to test the more specific conditions first. So here, the condition Richter greater than or equal to 8.0 is more specific than Richter greater than or equal 7.0. Because greater than or equal to 7.0 includes two cases. 7 and above, 8 and above. But Richter greater than or equal to 8 has only one. Greater than or equal to 8. One category.
Doctor, for a way to fix this code is just
Okay.
to flip the signs.
Is to flip the inequality signs. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I will start with if Richter is less than 4.5, how many categories less than 4.5?
Only one.
Only one. Aleph, it's less than 6. How many categories? Of course, now it's greater than or equal 4.5, صح? And less than 6, one category. So I can do this. I can fix this by changing the greater than or equal, changing to less than. Of course, I need to also the first print statement will be no damage, صح? It will be the other way around. It will be no damage. Okay. واضح يا شباب؟ واضح. So
Yeah.
make sure that when you write the Aleph, you that your category, each condition starting from the first one, you have only one category in that condition. You don't have more than one category in that condition, right? You don't have more than one category in that condition. Right. Okay. This is actually where we stopped in the other section. This is where we stopped in the other section. So let me give you then please fix this. We have 3 minutes. We have 3 minutes. Please fix this by using this order: 4.5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So copy paste or basically do whatever changes and send it on the chat. Okay. Let me add a cell here. Let me add a cell to Let me add a cell. So let me add this cell. And okay.
Doctor, can you write it in the chat to copy it?
اوه صح. انتوا يا شباب ليش ما بتشغلوا الجوبيتر وقت المحاضرة؟
بنشغله إن شاء الله.
طيب. Where is the chat? The chat is here. Control V. وصلكم يا شباب؟ Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay. يلا يا شباب. Fix this using the same order, making the, the inequality changes, and we will see your answer. And we will see your answer. Our quiz is tonight, صح?
Yes, same time.
Yeah, 7. Just come 5 minutes before 7. I'm not gonna make it what you call a final exam. يعني خلاص, everything is recorded. Your faces will be recorded, and ناخدكم على الثقة إن شاء الله. And I will be there. I'll be there just to make sure nothing goes wrong. But you can just come 5 minutes before the exam, okay? Exam, before the quiz. It's a quiz, okay? حسين, في already شباب أرسلوا؟
إيه موجودة في الشات.
ما شاء الله ما شاء الله. طيب, خلينا نشوف مين. عبد الإله. عبد الإله. Okay, all of you see the chat of Abdel Ilah. What is this correct? ما تزعل مني يا عبد الله, ما تحقد علي ترى, بس احنا عم نتعلم هون.
No.
What's wrong? What's wrong in the code of Abdel Ilah?
ما يطبق المطلوب.
ايش هو المطلوب؟ This is too general of an answer.
ما
إذا مثلا
4.5.
ها؟ ايوه.
ما في condition below 4.5.
below 4.5. انت حاطط below less than or equal to 4.5. صح؟
Yeah.
يعني you started with less than equal, you should have started with less than 4.5, which is basically no damage. صح? And then because that was the first category from below, right? That was the first category. That was the first category from below. Similarly, Hussein Al Abdullah, you have the same thing, صح؟ Richter is less than or equal to 4.5 وحطيت damage to poorly. لا, احنا بدنا no damage. طيب, محمد نفس الشيء. عبد الحميد same صديق. عبد الرحيم. Okay, so let's take عبد الرحيم's. Let's take عبد الرحيم's. And I'm already 1 minute. طيب, معلش يا شباب. Just to learn, okay? Just to learn. Control V. Okay. طيب. So, do you see any problem in this code?
I think there's no else for above 8.
طيب, so let's go over it. So if Richter, it should be less than 4.5, صح?
Yes.
No destruction of buildings. Elif, Richter is less than 6.
There is no equal.
There is no equal. Less than 6, damage to poorly constructed building. Elif, less than 7, many buildings considerably damaged, some collapsed. Now, Elif, less than, again 8, صح? Less than 8, many buildings destroyed. ترى نسينا في ضاي الوحدة اللي هي هذه.
Yes.
Most structures fail. So we should have done what? We should have said
Else.
خلاص. Everything that will be greater than or equal to 8. Okay? Everything, if I reach here, it will be basically greater. So I don't need to check. I don't need to check at all. Else, I will say, the print, most structures fail or fall. I think it should be fall, right? Anyways, so this way, if I try to run it, 7.1, well, many buildings destroyed. Okay, 7.1, many buildings destroyed. If I put 5.1, if I put 5.1, well, it is, less than 6 and greater than or equal to 4.5, so damage to poorly constructed buildings. Sorry for keeping you a little bit after the time, but basically we are done now. If you would like to leave, you're most welcome to leave. Anybody has any question?
Yes, please.
تفضل يا سعد.
I want to ask about the normalization for the quizzes. What is the percentage of the normalization? 70 or 75 or 60?
والله هذه we will determine it later يعني.
ما بعد تحدد يعني.
This will be determined يعني at the end. Don't worry about it. احنا يعني we do normalization basically in order to be fair with everybody. عرفت كيف؟ يعني ما يكون مثلا an instructor who is very tough, gives tough quizzes, and another one very easy, gives very simple quizzes, والطلاب يضيعوا بين الاثنين. Basically we will use one يعني normalized to just like what happens in labs in like physics and chemistry and stuff like that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Anything else يا شباب؟
Me, doctor.
تفضل.
I want to ask you about the if statement. If I like not with the elif, like with the else, like with the structure with if and else like that. If I started with like 4.5, it's the same thing. I should begins with the 8, not with the 4.5.
No, you can still start with the 4.5, but you cannot use greater than or equal. You should be less than.
I know. But the same thing that we do with the elif will...
Yes, it's the same idea. It's the same idea.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
أيوة. طيب يا شباب. إن شاء الله we'll see you بإذن الله day after. Well, no, we will see you إن شاء الله this evening. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.